there's no avatar because it's just blank. And we are live. Thank you for joining us. This is Interchain Live. I'm Ryan Munn. We've got Jose Cotto here with True Reply. Thanks for joining us, Jose.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So this has been a little while coming. We hit it off quite a while ago. You've got some great work going on, and I find it fascinating. And so I'm really glad to see we were able to put this on the calendar. So you are CEO and co-founder of True Reply, and tell me how long have you been working at this project?
So True Reply has been a kind of a pet project of mine for about 8 years as I was working on other startups. And we kind of transitioned True Reply into what you see it today about July of 2017 is when I became, what happened then really helped catalyze what we have today, which is separate from kind of my startup endeavors and my technology projects. I volunteered for a couple of rare disease foundations. And one of the things I walked away from that experience is a real desire to make a difference in what I had experienced. The thing I had experienced was patients living with debilitating diseases and the struggles they encounter when symptoms burden prevents them from engaging in things like clinical studies and patient studies and general healthcare studies designed to help them. What happens is that their symptoms get so bad that they can no longer get into a car to drive to see a doctor, or they might get so bad they can't even use a computer to respond to a form. And so what I saw there, given the work I was doing as in my side project in the voice space, was an opportunity to take voice to empower and enable these patients to continue being actively involved in their own healthcare. And that really is what lit the fire. A couple of months later, the entire project was kind of, just to give you take a step back, what I was designing up to that point was a fluency platform. Okay. So it would measure and score your English fluency and then provide you a mechanism to train to have better fluency for telephone support and that kind of stuff.
Right. That's right. We talked a little bit about open words a while back, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yes, that's right. Excellent, excellent. Yeah. So that's really. I mean, you're tackling a couple different challenges there, right? You've got aging, you've got sickness or disease or even injuries that are debilitating people, and then with that background of comprehension and the fluency testing, that really gives you quite an insight into.
Absolutely. And it became. That's what struck me the most, right? I was doing all this work on the voice space, and I saw how it could be applied to help the lives of these patients. And that really is what, I went back to the drawing board. I kind of refactored everything, and that became the True Reply that you can see today. And now we're even kind of as far as from a platform perspective, we're a bit of a bigger beast, right? So that experience catalyzed the change, and then iterative improvements to the platform brought us to other segments. So now our platform applies not only to healthcare and kind of the scenarios that we just touched on, but also human resources like staffing and recruiting and market research.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, well, let's take a look at what the platform is doing. You've got that up on the screen here, and that's truereply.com in case that's too small for anybody. Truereply.com. And so, tell me what are people going to find at the site right now?
Okay, so let's break down in a nutshell what it does. Right, True Reply is a voice data collection platform and analysis platform. So what does that mean, right? What that means is that anyone can go into the platform, and this speaks to a little bit about what, the real, just taking a quick step back, that impact I was hoping to make with patients. It was all around accessibility. So really that is the culture of True Reply, is making technology around voice accessible to both practitioners and participants. So as a voice data collection platform, you can jump in there and in a matter of seconds launch a quote unquote campaign. And what that enables you to do is you get a toll-free number, and you can distribute that toll-free number as you wish. And anyone with any type of telephone can engage that number, and you can start gaining insights and intelligence through that in any scale. Whether you're, a coffee shop and you just want to give a more creative and intuitive way for your customers to provide feedback on your latest brew, or if you're a market research company and you want to really include one more variable, and we'll touch on what that variable is, but at scale. Say you want to capture, the insights of 300,000 people, we can enable you to do that. And so, as you can see on the screen, one of our mantras outside of being accessible is about going beyond the math. So when we dive into what the platform can do and what it does today, it's really all about doing one thing right, which is capturing emotion, compassion, empathy in a way that hasn't been accessible before. And that is really by capturing, when you capture someone's voice in a way in how we do with TrueReply, you capture a wealth of information that is just not possible by other means, at least in an automated fashion, right? Because I like to think of it as TrueReply sits at a sweet spot. On the left-hand side of that sweet spot is your form-based surveys, right? Like a Survey Monkey type of thing. It's easy, it's cheap, you can launch it, it's great. But it's horrible at capturing emotion, compassion, and empathy. On the other side of that spectrum is your focus groups and in-depth interviews, or what they call IDIs. Those are fantastic at capturing empathy and emotion, right? Because there's a person involved in that experience. But they're extremely expensive, complicated to put together, hard to pull data out of when it comes to reporting on your insights.
And hard to make objective.
Exactly. Very hard to make objective. People don't understand. I had this conversation just yesterday, is that there's a really strong nuance between you and I talking this way and what your expectations are of me and what I may feel your expectations are of me, and how I'm going to frame my answers and responses in that way, right?
Absolutely.
Well, there's a little nuance that changes when I get to talk, but I know I am not being judged or I have any preconceived notions on the other side of that, as you do in an automated system like TrueReply.
Right.
And what happens in that scenario becomes super interesting. And I'm going to show you a couple of campaigns we've run, and we'll hear some things that people say.
It's interesting you say that. I want to pause for a second because I want to ask maybe your insight on something. I've been discussing, there's a word for this and I can't think of the term, but it's basically how people begin to act as if they're being recorded when they believe they may be recorded, right? So they change their behavior with the possibility of being recorded. And so that's statistically been shown. What's interesting is that I've also learned from my own experience anecdotally and from others sharing their experience, I can have people walk into my office, and out of 1,000 people, I can tell them all that they're going to be recorded. And if I frame it as not as a question, but just as a statement of fact appropriately, almost nobody objects to it. One person out of that 1,000, people might object to it. But if you ask, if you give the option of like, oh, I'd like to record this, is that okay? Almost everyone, at least half, will, say no. And almost everyone has some initial, resistance or reaction to it. What's interesting about that is that when you change that dynamic to somebody downloading an app and participating in surveys, or just simply responding to a survey and responding to an automated questionnaire as opposed to a person, or as opposed to having to click and fill out a thing, you can answer the questions while you're doing your dishes or making dinner. It's like you're not even considering the fact that it's being recorded. I mean, obviously it's being recorded. And even when I'm a person and I'm saying, oh, is it okay if we record this? And you say no, I'm still taking notes. I mean, I'm taking notes. It's just not perceived the same way. And so it's an interesting shift that, TrueReply and some of these other services are enabling a transition in how we perceive our own surveillance and recording.
Yeah, and that's precisely what we've found in our deployments of TrueReply in different case studies and pilot programs. Is the reality is we love to speak, We just don't love to be judged, which is where I think that nuance happens, right?
Yes.
We want to talk. We just don't want to be judged for what we're saying. And the interesting thing that we see happening in our platform is, first of all, everyone that engages the platform in one form or another is incentivized to do so, right?
Right.
I'm a patient. I want to share my information, how I feel, so that they can make me better.
Right.
I am a potential, and I'm a candidate for a job position. I am incentivized to engage the platform and provide the insights, that's asked of me. On the market research side, we incentivize people to participate in our platform via Voice Rewards Me, and that's another form of incentivization. So everyone that engages our platform is super incentivized and already invested to engage with it, which means, like you said, the thought of being recording doesn't come into play in that scenario because they know what they're stepping into. So what we see is, so for example, we did a pilot. We launched True Reply in November of 2017. And by that, I mean, it went out into the wild. We did our first, in November of 2017, we became the first open-ended voice data collection platform to be deployed within a healthcare study, which was fantastic for us.
Exciting.
And in that same month or two, shortly after launch, one of the first experiments we did was we took a form-based survey, had about 10 questions. We sent that out to 100 people. We then sent a true survey, what we call a true survey, or a voice survey from True Reply to the same 100 people. And it was the same questions, same exact survey, except that people were engaging via voice instead of typing at a computer.
Right.
The outcome of that is really what made us focus on what we can do at True Reply, because what happened is we experienced 3 to 5x more data in every single question. People just talked more and they gave us more insights into the simplest of questions. So that in and of itself showed tremendous value, going from just a form-based interface to a voice interface, right? We just love to talk. As you can tell, we just love to talk.
Yeah.
So, but the other interesting thing is that in that example, we didn't really push the capabilities of True Reply, because True Reply to us is an open-ended automated voice data collection platform, which means when we utilize True Reply in studies or healthcare or market research, we strive to do so using open-ended questions that encourage as much information as possible. Right. And with that, we go beyond the 3x and 5x, and we get into like 10, 50x more data points. We get so much more data from open-ended questions in this automated fashion. So I think that speaks directly to what you were just touching on, which is just that change to voice makes such a huge difference.
It's amazing. It's amazing just how we can discover these little nuances and then just by being aware of them, use them so effectively to help ourselves if given the right tools.
Exactly. So would you like to jump in and just take a look at how we do some of this?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to log us in here. So we designed the dashboard to be super linear, super easy to use. Again, it goes back to that underlying philosophy of True Reply, which is accessibility. So it has to be easy to engage with on the participant side, whether it's an elderly person who's engaging our platform, someone living with debilitating disease, or maybe it might be a child. We don't know, right? Whoever it's going to be, it has to be super accessible. And then on the practitioner side, the person who's actually administering the surveys, it has to be super easy to engage with and manage and launch a survey and see results. So you see here it's a very simple dashboard that kind of lays out surveys we've got going on, our archive of surveys, and some of our participant information. So what I generally like to do is take you through how easy it is to create a survey.
Okay.
Because that takes all of about 20 seconds. Once you know, we like to say that the hardest part of deploying True Reply is knowing what you're going to ask. Right. Once you figure out what those questions are going to be, setting it up and launching takes seconds.
All right. So let's do a two question survey right now. First question is a little trivia, since we just talked about it in the video. When was True Reply founded?
Okay.
And next question, how soon would you like to take your next survey?
That's our questions. Now I'm just going to go back here. I'm going to give this a survey name. And we haven't touched on this yet, but we provide different survey types. You can do a call-in telephone survey, which is kind of pretty much what we've been talking to up till now. Yeah. The other option today is to launch an Amazon Alexa survey, which we'll come back around to in a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then soon we'll be launching our auto call telephone survey. And that ties into a lot of like longitudinal monitoring and longitudinal based studies where we may want to survey a cohort or a group of people on the same day at the same time across weeks or months or years, and then be able to baseline their responses. And there's a couple of interesting use cases for that.
Yeah, like if you're looking for like emotional state at 3 p.m. in the average worker or something like that.
Precisely, exactly. Yeah. Or if you want to baseline against mental illness, or if you want to baseline against dementia, someone living with dementia, or maybe an early onset dementia, we provide a facility by which you can have some interesting results as it relates to early diagnosis of cognitive loss and things like that. But for now, we'll select our survey type as call-in. Survey goals, we'll set it at 0, which means as many people as you want can call in and engage, but you could also set it. Let's say I just want to collect 1,000 responses. Sure. That allows you to manage the costs of deploying the platform and get the amount of responses you want. Right. And then we have a telephone survey, telephone intro. So this would be when you call in, the first thing they're going to hear. So how would you like to introduce this survey to your participants?
Oh, so I would say thanks for watching our interview with Jose and True Reply. Please enjoy the service. Answer as truthfully as possible. No, actually, probably shouldn't say anything like that in a question, right? That skews the results of a question when you bring up the.
Yeah, this would be more like a welcome. So like.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for watching our interview and participating in our survey.
Right. So we've got our basic setup in place, and we've got our questions already set up. The last bit of piece you have control over is actually the voice that they will hear. Mm-hmm. So we deploy a couple of layers of technology, and one of them is a lot of Amazon Alexa-based technology. Okay. No, which for there is the voice that you want your participants to hear. So, for example, our default is Samantha at a normal speed, and we can actually you're not going to be able to hear it because I have my headphones on, but you can actually listen to what the voice sounds like and adjust it based on what you want it to sound like, both on the individual and the speed of their speech. So it's a little bit of way of customizing that automated experience on the end side. But we've got our basics in place, and without all of the conversation, it probably would have taken us about 30 seconds or so. Right. And then we launch our survey. And this is our survey. It's now live. So we could you could actually call into this number, which is 855-285-6244, and play a little survey trivia here.
No kidding. So now, because we haven't paid for it, that won't work, or would it still respond if somebody calls?
No, it is. You hit on a good point. What does True Reply cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. True Reply is actually is a pay per use kind of platform. Okay. So you can go in, you sign up for free, you launch your campaign, and you're only paying for the responses you collect. Okay. So if you set out to collect 1,000, but you only collect 100, you're only going to pay for the 100 that you collect. Okay. So this is active and it's live and it's ready to go. And that's really all there is to generating your survey. But now things can get a little interesting, right? Yeah. So let's say we've got an answer on number 2. Okay. How soon would you like to take your next survey? We're going to add a keyword and do some interesting. I want to show this. So I'm actually going to add a question to the survey. Okay. Can we use your recorded feedback for marketing purposes? Quick disclaimer. Okay, so now we've got that last question there. So now we're looking at question 2. How soon would you like to take your next survey? So let's say their answer is now.
Mm-hmm.
And what keywords facilitate into reply is this idea of a true score. And you can, let's say you're doing a job pre-qualifier or pre-screening.
Yep.
And you're looking for key skills, right? And they reflect key skills and say specific keywords. Yep. You can enter those keywords and then rank those participants according to the number of times they used specific key terms that you're looking for.
Okay.
So for now, we're gonna use the word now. So they want to take a survey now, and we'll just give it a score of 10. But that's where things get interesting, because now what we do is we do real-time, or we enable real-time live operator routing or alerting. So if this person says now, we can actually call forward them to another survey, or we call forward them to a live operator. And that's when we're talking about things like mental illness monitoring, monitoring of dementia patients or anything like that. If we identify keywords or key phrases that allude to depression, for example, we may want to route them right there in real time to a live operator that can help them.
Right, right.
So that's why I say
Alzheimer's or dementia, and they have certain keywords that they personally are, you know, you can recognize as triggers, you know, when they start talking about their, you know, dead husband or, you know, those types of things. If you have regular survey happening to get response, you can gauge the state of mind that they're in pretty consistently, looking for those keywords.
Exactly, exactly.
That's awesome.
And you can actually now, while they're engaged on the phone, while they're actually taking the survey, make that decision in real time and route them in real time. So there's no secondary call, there's no secondary action. They get notified that they're getting routing, and they get connected to the live operator. So that's why I say that when it comes to keywords, things get super interesting, because you can do, you know, the call forwarding, which fits a whole bunch of use cases related to healthcare and market research. You can also do an SMS notification. And what that will do is then forward you this caller's information so that you can follow up with them if you don't want to do like a live operator routing. Right. So maybe you have some indicators there that are showing signs of depression, and you want to follow up with them. Maybe you're a therapist, and you want to follow up with them to address those issues. You would get your SMS alert. It would tell you who called. It would tell you what triggered the alert, and then you can act from there. And of course, via the platform, via our telephone-based engagement, you have all those recorded responses. So why don't we take a look at a little bit now on the outcome side. So we saw how easy it was to create a survey. We saw how easy it is to create these keywords. Excuse me. So now the next question is, all right, so I did all this. What happened on the outcome side? What does that data look like? So I've got a few loaded up here. And so one of the first, as I mentioned, back in November when we launched, we did a healthcare study. And we launched against a little over 100 patients. And it was a voice-based study that went absolutely fabulous. It actually went so well that later this month, we're part of another study, and will actually be presented to the FDA.
Awesome.
And this study you see here on the Pain Summit survey was actually featured in the March issue of Neurology Reviews. So it went super well, much better than we thought it was going to go.
Wow, that's great.
But now, what is the insight? You know, what does the outcome of this look like? So we know we're doing voice-based engagement. All of the participant responses are fully recorded. We automatically transcribe those responses, and we provide open searching, insights, keyword trendings, and things like that. So we've got this little tab here for insights, and this gives us a wealth of information of our participants. And this outcome summary that you see here on the top left, I always find that super interesting, because it really tells you what a difference voice makes. And this is actually, believe it or not, on the low end, because if we look at the average response of 17 words and average response time, that's the low end, which is, you know, 17 words, average response time of 8 to 15 seconds. We've seen them go up as high as 30 seconds and almost 23, 30 words. So it's super interesting how much more people will speak when engaged via voice, and how much more data you can pull from that.
Yeah.
And we get some, so this summarizes our campaign, right? So we see, responses by time of day, when they like to engage. What was super interesting about this particular survey is when we first launched it on that first day, which was really on the 16th here of October.
Yep.
You saw two distinct spikes. And the thing to reflect on that is, what was this? This was a pain survey of where we surveyed people living with a debilitating disease and suffering from a lot of pain. And it was reflected in when they engaged the platform, because what we saw initially was two spikes, one around lunchtime and one around dinner time, which kind of made sense with respect to what they're able to do since they live with so much pain and when they're able to do it. It then, it kind of got mushed a bit, but we can still see kind of those hills and valleys here for when they prefer to engage. And that's super useful information, let's say if we're doing a longitudinal study, right? And we want to do another survey. Now we have a good sense of, okay, maybe we'll launch this thing at 2 o'clock, or maybe we'll launch it around 5, because that's where we peaked up engagement. And that's why that information is there. We then, we can then scroll down here and we get some breakdown of gender participation, some sentiment information. We get to see, obviously, the words people use is where you start getting real value from these engagements. Now, here's something that's super interesting. Another point that's super interesting about TrueReply and this idea of open-ended questioning and collecting those responses and leveraging that information. This was a survey again of people living with pain. And one of the questions, if we go back here, was about self-medication. Just trying to find it here. How do you currently manage your pain? Now, when we set this up, we put in keywords for Advil and ibuprofen, and it would do the automated ranking based on those. But the super interesting thing that we found was all the unexpected ways people were managing their pain. It wasn't just ibuprofen and Advil. There was opioids used, marijuana used. There was yoga, meditation, and all these things kind of just fluttered up from responses, giving us insights that we couldn't even have anticipated. That if we had tried to align with those expectations on the front side, it would have been super difficult. So, for example, the counterpart to this might have been like a Survey Monkey, where how do you manage your pain? And you've got check 1 for ibuprofen, check 2 for Tylenol, check 3 for Oxycontin, so on and so forth. But some of those answers we wouldn't even have anticipated, because they wouldn't have made that list, which means they would have never been discovered. And that's actually one of the things that made this, the outcome of this study so profound, is that we saw we saw that kind of beautiful discovery come out. And analyze the data.
Well, it's almost, and it's easier for you to get people to, be honest, I think, because they're more, they're already in participation mode. But there's a stopgap when you're writing answers down, and you can write something or start to write something and change your mind about what you're going to write. Whereas, you can speak pretty quick and it's out there and you're done, and you get that instinctive reaction from people, that tone of honesty.
Totally. 100%.
That's awesome.
Okay. So that's kind of like the insights you can see from here. What I want to do is switch over to another campaign and show you some of the participant data. I can't do that here because we are HIPAA compliant, and some of this information is obviously protected under HIPAA.
Oh, gotcha.
Close that out and have a look at the participant layer here.
Okay.
So here we had a campaign that was launched, one that we did actually for the purposes of hiring a voice person to redo our PBX, our dial-in number, right?
Yep.
And so, there was some basic questions. What was your first job? How fast can you provide your voice recording? What format do you provide your audio recording in? And then we ranked, we put in some keywords there with their ranking as, to provide some quick value. And then switching over to participants, we can see where that starts to play a part. right? Where that true score starts to play a part. So out of all the participants, TrueReply has now automatically prioritized those based on who you should pay attention to first and see what their outcome information is like. So we're going to click into this first one, which had the highest score. And right here we can see their participation information. You have the ability to play this audio, which I'm actually just going to switch off. Can you hear me okay, Ryan?
Yep, I hear you fine.
Excellent. So now we're going to be able to hear.
My first voice job was working with the U.S. Army at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
So you can see how you have all of your audio recordings, all of the responses via the engagement of a campaign, fully accessible via the platform.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, I can't tell you how many forms I've clicked out of because I'm sick of filling out another form.
Exactly. Totally. There's a level of, one of the things we got from that, one of the kind of like the feedbacks we got from the Pain Summit, and this came, we had 113 patients participate. This came from about 10% of them. And they truly expressed how much they enjoyed just participating in that survey because it was done via voice.
Right.
How easy it was, it was the most enjoyable experience that they've had with a healthcare study and so on and so forth. So it really does, I mean, voice really has an interesting impact when surveying people. So this is kind of what your outcome is. So you've got all your responses from all your participants. You can, of course, filter them based on, specific words you might be looking for. Let's say I'm looking, again, this was our telephone greeting interview. So let's say I'm looking for someone who did radio. So I can see here, this person did radio. Obviously, a platform like TrueReply is uniquely positioned for something like hiring a voice actor. But this is also, I've got another tab here opened, which is we're doing a customer service hire. And so, just like our previous example, we now have access to this person is applying to our customer service job. And now we not only get insight into how they responded to the questions and the data points we get from that, but we also get to listen to their voice. We get to hear their personality. We get to hear their inflections of their voice. And so much more information is gathered and so much better decisions can be made by filling in those gaps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's excellent. Yeah. I mean, so what's, I guess, what's the next step? Obviously, paying for the surveys covers the, getting it out there, but how is it that you're getting people to really engage with the surveys?
So we have, as we touched on when we were creating our survey, we've got two types of surveys you can launch via TrueReply. One is our telephone-based survey. So once you've got that created, that is very, it's not like an open survey necessarily, right? It's something that is subjective to a specific goal, whether it be you're hiring someone and you want to use it as pre-qualification, whether you want to do some pre-screening of patients or post-screening of patients, or you want to do some patient-reported outcome kind of stuff. So you've got your kind of like your audience in mind, and you've got your end result in mind. So how you facilitate that engagement is really up to you and how you kind of manage that space. And by you, I mean like any organization,
any client,
company, anyone using the platform. And you can do that, you've got your phone number, you can share it out via social, email. We provide a QR code here that can easily be printed on your sticker or put on a brochure or that kind of stuff. And that just jumps the participant directly into your survey. So it's super accessible. We kind of consistent with that theme.
Right. Awesome.
Now, the other side of this that we kind of touched on is the Amazon Alexa survey. And that's another way that things that we're doing at TrueReply get super interesting, right? So back in November, again, we became the first platform to be approved by Amazon for incentivized surveying. And today, we're still the first and only platform you can do that with. What that means is that we're the only platform you can go into, launch a survey across the Amazon Alexa community and encourage that engagement. So you used early on in our conversation the example of like, I could be cooking and engaging in the survey, right?
Right. Yeah.
That would be via telephone. Take that one step further where you're cooking, you know, I'm cooking breakfast for the kids and I can quickly run a couple of surveys and make a couple of bucks just with the Amazon Alexa without even having to touch a telephone. Right. Or yesterday I was talking to, on another conference call, and the example came up of, you know, 2018 saw the rollout of the first major car vehicles to roll off the line with Amazon Alexa built in. That was, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was BMW, Ford, and Hyundai. So when you buy one of these, you have Amazon Alexa in your car. Wow. So now that has a profound impact in accessibility when it comes to something like True Reply, right? Because now I'm sitting in traffic, I can actually take a couple of surveys and pay for my gas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, and then it gets even more interesting when you take into consideration autonomous vehicles. But we won't even go there right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
let's do some surveys about autonomous vehicles first.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. Awesome.
So that's kind of like our Amazon Alexa space, where we're building this proprietary consumer panel, and companies, foundations, organizations will have access to engage and run surveys on this new growing platform. As we were talking offline before, one super interesting metric that I just read about this morning, actually, early on into the life of True Reply, we were doing a bunch of survey about the growth of voice and how quickly it's going to come and so on and so forth. So we can, you know, obviously set our targets and expectations. So around that time, it was about, the study was done towards the tail end of 2017, and it showed 26 million homes had a voice-enabled smart speaker. So that is an Amazon Alexa or like a Google Home Assistant. So at that time, they had 26 million homes with these devices in the US. And it was estimated to double by 2020, which is fantastic. Yeah. If you look at the saturation of the television that took almost 13 years to reach 50 million homes, that level of saturation is incredible when it comes to voice speakers. Well, the incredible thing actually is even greater than that, because a study was just completed in March of 2018, and there are now 43 million homes in the US with smart speaker devices. That means that we are accelerating into this market much quicker than anyone has anticipated. Take into account now vehicles rolling off the line with these systems in place, and you can kind of get a sense of the opportunity of the market that we can reach with True Reply and our voice-based on IoT side of things with the Amazon Alexa and the Google Home.
Yeah, that's super, super exciting. I mean, you definitely open doors here. I mean, we talked about a little bit earlier, I think, before we get on here, about how, you know, people, the target's always the, you know, 18 to 25-year-old demographic, right? Adopting technology the most rapidly. But the reality is that this is such an enabling technology that as that, you know, this generation adopts the technology, we're the ones implementing it for the older generations as well, because it's making all of our lives easier, especially when we're looking at the medical and the elder care applications here. It's not a matter of, you know, the older generation not adopting the technology. I mean, they're going to embrace it because it enables them to continue living a free and independent lifestyle as long as possible, as opposed to, you know, having to be so dependent on various people. You know, this technology really opens that door.
100%. It goes back again to kind of one of our cultural mantras, which is accessibility, which is we can really, you know, we can make a difference by making this technology accessible to everyone. And we make that accessibility in, you know, we accomplish that accessibility in multiple ways. So as we were talking about kind of the Amazon Alexa side of things, I just wanted to kind of
continue
introduce to your audience and to anyone looking at this that we recently launched Voice Rewards Me, which is really the consumer-facing side of what we talked about on the Amazon Alexa side of things. So what that means is anyone can register at voicerewards.me and utilize their Amazon Alexa to earn money just by answering question surveys and sharing their opinions. And a super exciting piece of that is we actually introduced a piece of technology into this whole thing that we're creating in February, where we became the first platform on Amazon Alexa to allow you to earn not only fiat currency, like the US dollar, but also cryptocurrency. So you can actually use the Amazon Alexa to answer these surveys, answer these, share your opinion, and earn cryptocurrencies, your favorite cryptos. Right now we're supporting Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and of course we have our own research, what we call the research token, which is your reply token. And that one, once again, it's all about accessibility of the data, right? And making the platform accessible to anyone. So if you, by engaging via Voice Rewards Me, you can actually earn your own research. In other words, you can earn reply token and use that reply token to conduct your own research, effectively conducting research at any scale for free.
Right. So like a university could be participating in research that get their students all participating in and earn tokens to help fund the university's medical research or other, other aspects of that ecosystem.
Exactly. That's something that we're super excited and proud of.
Yeah. Great. That's awesome. So when, now this is all approved, but is this live? Can people get on there and earn cryptocurrency today?
Yes, everything has been live. Now, everything has been live since February 2000 of this year, right?
Awesome.
We recently went through a rebranding. So we're really moving people from the True Reply skill, which is the skill our community had installed before, to the new Voice Rewards Me skill. And that's more of a, it's totally kind of like to make it a more consumer-facing, consumer-friendly kind of brand. But the platform is completely live. It has been for quite some time now. And yeah, anyone can jump on, register, and start earning.
Awesome. So, and how do they do that exactly? Do they go into their Amazon Alexa app and then search for those old ones, the True Reply skill? Now it's the Voice Rewards Me that be searched for? Yeah,
so you can do it one of two ways. The first way is to come to voicerewards.me. You can get started, you register your account, and then you come down here and click the Install Skill button. And you'll want to do that via your mobile phone, because that's where the Amazon Alexa Companion app is, which is actually how you install the skill. So once you click on that, you install your Amazon Alexa Companion app, and then you're off to the races. The easiest way to start Voice Rewards is simply to ask Alexa to launch Voice Rewards. We also do targeted surveys. So for example, let's say Interchain wanted to launch some surveys specific to them. You would be able, your participants would be able to go in and say, Alexa, launch Voice Rewards and give me the Interchain survey.
Gotcha.
Or they could say, Alexa, give me the Interchain survey from Voice Rewards, or something like that.
Right. But, absolutely.
But once you do that, then it's all, it's pretty self-explanatory from there, because the system just walks you through it via voice and gets you going and engaging.
Awesome. And do you have like an affiliate program too for people who want to share your service and put out their own links for you?
We are working on an affiliate program. We don't have one live yet, but we should have one live. I believe we're targeting the beginning of October.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Well, that's awesome. I mean, this is a really exciting platform, and I think that everybody should be plugging in and seeing what surveys are out there. Now, how many surveys are live right now? When people log in, I know this is new, so how much are they going to find as far as what's readily available for them to participate in?
On the Voice Rewards Me side, you'll find there are about 20 surveys available. And once you register here and actually log into your dashboard, and actually, why don't we do that?
Sure.
So we can kind of take a look at what that looks like. So this is kind of what your dashboard looks like.
Okay.
And you'll log in. You'll see how many surveys are available and how much you can earn with the surveys. It breaks you down how many surveys the surveys you've already taken. And then you have your action buttons here to be able to cash out. And cashing out is easy. You just click your button, select whichever token you want to receive, whether it's Ethereum. You enter your password to confirm. It then sends you a secondary confirmation to your registered email, which you then have to click on. And of course, that's all just to prevent someone else from hacking your account and getting your stuff. And then that's it. We cash out every Wednesday. And we do those cash outs via either PayPal or your favorite crypto wallet.
Gotcha. Awesome. So now what about your token? So I saw that, the reply token.
Yeah.
So what is, I guess, what are the dynamics of that token? Was that a security, utility? Did you guys launch that before you realized which?
No, we launched that specifically as a utility token.
Awesome.
It was actually active and live on our platform before we even put it out into the wild.
Great. Love to hear that.
Our token was integrated actually in 2017. And then we made it public in February 2018.
Okay.
And again, it's the True Reply Research Token.
Yep.
So you utilize that token to conduct surveys on our platform, but you can also earn that token by participating in surveys on our platform.
So, okay, so let me ask you this then, because I've done something similar with another project. And so your pricing that we saw for your surveys was, what was it, like $5 plus 50 cents per reply with the telephone survey?
We do our base pricing
Yep.
is a $5 setup fee on the line and then 50 cents per response.
Okay. That's what I thought I remembered seeing there on that screen. So if you want to pay with the True Reply coin, can you do it right from that same interface?
You don't have to do anything different. All you actually have to do is go into your settings and add your Ethereum wallet that's holding Reply token.
Got it.
And then we automatically, what's the word I'm looking for? Charge those accounts at the end of the cycle.
I see. So you basically pre-authorize a transaction, or I, the user, pre-authorizes a transaction when I set up the survey. Like exactly. I sign okay, got it. Yep. I see. Yep. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, no, that's awesome. Now what, without looking at that, or I'm not sure if you had it up a second ago, what's the value of the token right now? Or is it traded, or is it purely managed by you guys in terms of market for it?
As of today, it's purely managed by us. So we, within the platform for the purposes of conducting surveys, $1 equals 1 reply token.
Gotcha. Okay. And you just charge it at face value for the services used. Is there a discount if you're using the reply token versus paying?
No, there is no discount for using the reply token. And the reason that is because once we're currently pursuing the exchanges to get our token out there.
Yep.
And once that happens, then the market's going to kind of decide the value of that token. Right. So that's why we're kind of not, we're staying away from kind of the idea of discounting it because I think it's the market demand will define what that value is.
Right.
And
you're not trying to attract anybody to buy it for an investment purpose. It's more of the sort of, direct access to pre-buy the service.
Exactly. No, this has always been about, we're talking about the culture of True Reply. So we've got accessibility.
Yep.
The other is we've got a strong culture of just trying to help. We want to help the patients. We want to help facilitate that engagement and empowerment of patients. So we're very much that's driving a lot of the stuff we do and a lot of the decisions that we do.
Right.
But a big part of how we see, we can get into kind of like the blockchain piece of this, right?
Yeah.
Which is we're at the forefront of a changing data economy.
Absolutely.
I strongly believe that in the next 3 to 5 years, most of our consumer products are going to be voice first, which is going to put incredible value in voice data collection, right?
Right. Yep.
What that gives us the opportunity as a society is to kind of correct the errors of our past a little bit, right? Mm. And how we see that happening is through the democratization of data. So if Nike wants to know what our 2 million users think about their sneaker, then our users should be compensated for that information. It shouldn't be and our users should have the option and choice to opt out.
Right.
I don't want to give you that information, but if I am going to give it to you, this is my price.
Right.
And that idea will be facilitated by the reply token.
So you may have gotten paid to do one survey by one company that put it out, but you might retain personal data rights to the replies on those survey as not owned by the company that paid for the survey, but owned by the individual who provided the answers. And the company just paid for access to that information. And then you could then leverage your survey results to other interested parties in the future, or TrueReply could put together packages of data to say, hey, this is available if you're willing to pay for it. Our users are willing to let this data out to you as well.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Exactly. So that's where exchanges comes in, right? Because in the real, practically speaking, if we want to get reply token into the hands of the community so that they can become that voice that companies want to hear from, the only way to really facilitate that is through the exchange participation.
Awesome. Well, hey, I feel like we could go on for a few more hours, but I know we both have things to do, and audiences definitely get bored after an hour. So I really want to, thank everyone out there for tuning in. I want to definitely keep up the conversation with you, Jose, because I want to keep track of what's going on there. I'm probably going to start taking some surveys myself, and I see a lot of opportunities to use your service with various companies all over the place. So I see a lot of progress in our near future with the voice data collection and your platform. So
awesome. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for having me, Ryan. It's been a pleasure to jam with you a little bit here. And I'm excited to hear some of the feedback from your viewers.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great day. We will go offline now.